Okay. I miss the old fire in Comicsgate. Row and War Campaign might be insane, but at least they have some of that old spice. It's refreshing to hear them call each other bundles of sticks and not be politically correct. By this time next year, Ethan will have kicked almost everyone from Comicsgate so that he can save it. The new Comicsgate will be Gail, Simone, Mark Waid, and EVS, published by Dynamite. I had to kick everyone out of Comicsgate so we would be able to go mainstream. Oh yeah, and I'm changing the name to all caps. It's an old story. A band or a film franchise goes in a new direction and destroys everything that made it cool. Some things were not meant to go mainstream. Don't misunderstand. If a mainstream publisher wants to work with you, fine. But don't turn into an SJW in an effort to get published. Tim Lim, Mike Miller, JDA, Doug Tennapel are all more Comicsgate than 90% of the guys in Comicsgate. Sorry to swear, but they have the fuck it attitude that is the core of Comicsgate, or at least it used to be. Actually, War Campaign, Tim, Mike, JDA, Doug, they have a lot of that attitude. They rub each other the wrong way, but they're closer to each other than they are to EVS, but they're fighting because they're basically children who were manipulated by daddy. That came out a bit harsh. SJWs killed an industry. It's what they do. Don't be an SJW just to join a dying industry. It's only when you make a trans, gay, African, Muslim the sociopathic criminal mastermind that you have achieved nirvana. Read Lone Star or Iron Sights. That's written by a guy who said, fuck it, I'm gonna make a cool comic. The moment you start to wonder if you should make the antagonists a bunch of blonde dudes in a motorcycle gang so you won't get canceled on Twitter by people who can't hurt your sales, that moment is when you find your balls and say, screw it. I think it was last year, Doug Tennapel got into a Twitter exchange with a dude at Kotaku who Doug repeatedly correctly gendered. That takes a lot of balls for a guy who works in comics, and stuff like that has probably cost him millions. They told him to bake the cake, and Doug told them to GTFO. Ethan would have put on an apron and baked the cake. Mike had the guts to tell them that pride is a sin. Doesn't matter if you're religious or if you believe with that particular sentiment or if you hate Mike. That took balls. Mike and Doug are more War Campaign than War Campaign. Roe is pseudo-edgy. Mike and Doug are actually putting their principles out there. It's easy to make fun of Doug and Mike because they are unattractive, awkward nerds, while War Campaign plays at being cool guys. But Doug and Mike have real courage. Their names and faces are out there, and they are pulling a Jordan Peterson. No, we shouldn't be forced to use your pronouns. For guys who work in comics, that's a very dangerous position to take. Plus, they are Christian conservatives who are standing by their principles. Who else in Comicsgate has the guts like they do? That's another thing I thought of. Tim Lim, JDA, Doug Tennapel, Edwin Boyette, Mike Miller are the 5 religious guys, at least that I'm aware of, who, I don't know if they exactly got kicked out of Comicsgate, but it's kind of effective when they argued with the leader, or the effective leader, de facto leader of Comicsgate, or at least it's fair to say they were made to not feel welcome in CG by, one guy who controls, 90% of the audience. So SJWs attack Christian conservatives. And you got Comicsgate also attacking Christian conservatives. And like I said, believe with their religious viewpoints or their political viewpoints, it doesn't matter. I don't like that they were made to feel not welcome in a group. That feels a little bit like Comicsgate is now the new SJWs. And as it struggles to go more and more mainstream, it's going to get rid of more and more people who are, a little too edgy for us. Nurkish has a Discord server. Well, okay, did Nurkish say things that you don't disagree with? No, not exactly. Then what's the problem? Well, he is associated with another group. Okay, but you didn't say it and he didn't say it. There's no problem. I understand wanting to be mainstream and get into stores and all that kind of thing, but you can't be a windsock and just literally cave into the slightest pressure. And then it's like that was, I guess, the first schism, and then more and more schisms happened after that, and it just got like this effort to go mainstream. At the point when you started to alienate War Campaign, that's a bit weird. Believe it or not, I avoid Comicsgate and anti-Comicsgate drama on Twitter. I don't follow any of the big Comicsgate channels on Twitter, not even Tug or Yellow Flash. Cecil is the only one of the big guys I follow. I also follow Ren because she used to be important in terms of Comicsgate news. I don't mean that she isn't important, but that aspect of Comicsgate has moved on. They won some battles, but Comicsgate took some damage, admittedly, but Comicsgate is definitely winning the war. In fact, Comicsgate doesn't have any serious enemies, so it starts attacking itself. You usually see that when you have weak leadership, and Comicsgate leadership is very soft and flabby. So the only way I see drama is if somebody retweets it. Actually, the only guy I see on Twitter is Ethan because he inserts himself into so many situations. Anyway, I tread very lightly around Ren, SJW, Captain America, and the rest because many of them are legitimately mentally ill individuals. A lot of the kids who follow Ren are sociopaths who literally do not know right from wrong because other people aren't really real to them. They will swat you to try to get the police to murder you because it's all done over the internet. It's divorced from reality. Just ask Peter Simone or Edwin Boyette. The SGWs didn't notice channels until they were over 1,000 or so subs. Then they started to harass you. That probably isn't such an issue anymore, but the hatred that Meyer, EVS, Yellow Flash, Tug, Nick Rekieta, Edwin Boyette, Doug Tennapel, Peter Simone got was insane. But a lot of that energy could be avoided if you just stayed off Twitter. A fire can only burn so hot without oxygen. So I am subbed to all the SJW comic pros, but I rarely comment on their posts. I did have one interaction with Gail Simone where we both agreed not to judge EVS too harshly because he's a victim of mental illness and needs treatment. I was sort of just being a wise ass, but Gail agreed with me, which is funny because both Gail and EVS are completely whack job Looney Tunes. Anyway, I had assumed by now, after 3 years, that most of the Comicsgate SGW stuff had calmed down. Oh, hell no. The nutjobs on Twitter are even more upset because the SGW comic had to shut down and Comicsgate is still going strong, but instead of SGWs learning a lesson from it and changing their behavior, they doubled down because it was never about comics. Comics were just the battleground. Of course, the real fight is probably internationalist versus nationalist, or authoritarianism of communism versus the libertarianism of nationalism. Maybe this seems like the simplification, but the SGW Comicsgate fight deals with the left-wing fantasy of what they wish was reality versus the right-wing gritty pragmatism. Anyway, this is a comic made for nobody, just absolutely nobody. I'll be nice. I was, when I say spot the degeneracy, I'm joking. I mean by that, I mean, and this is what I mean, is the majority of people are straight. They're just straight. They want boyfriends and girlfriends and have kids. That's just the majority. I'm not saying it's better or worse. There's always going to be Roman society for people who are LGBT. It's part of the spice of life. But the majority, and I'm talking in terms of like business, selling to your audience. Your audience is just normal, plain Jane, straight people. You said normal and plain. Yes, technically normal and abnormal, those are just words that apply. They're not meant to be judgmental. So the majority people want to see boy meets girl, boy gets girl, and they ride off into the sunset together and settle down and raise little princes and princesses. So here in this image, you have a cluster of 3 girls dancing, 2 girls dancing, a girl, where's the main shot? The girl treating the boy, she's swinging him down, there it is, treating him like he's the submissive partner and she's the dominant partner. You have 2 boys dancing together. You had one straight couple, or one male and female couple dancing out of this whole dance scene. And then you had she's not Captain, this is DC. Supergirl wearing a tuxedo because she hates flowers. She's a girl who hates flowers and anything pink. Okay, there are maybe girls who hate pink, but I don't think you're going to find any girls who hate flowers. That's just, I think that's hardwired into their DNA to like pretty good smelling things. Again, she treats him like the submissive partner. See, these people, writers, the editors, and the group editors, they're the only people that matter. They're bad people. I don't want to get too much deeper into that. They're bad people and they have an agenda, and the agenda is not to your favor or not to your kids' favor. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I know this is kind of a weird inside baseball channel about Comicsgate, and it's a very limited audience, but, you know, it's YouTube. Do what you want. All right, guys, I will see you all next episode.